If you have prospects that constantly don't show up for the appointments that you schedule, or when you go to make a follow-up phone call, they're always sending you to voicemail, I know how frustrating that can be. You're putting in the work, you're making the phone calls, you're prospecting just like I'm asking you to do every single day, just to go to somebody's house and nobody's there. So listen, in today's video, I'm gonna share 2 different things that you can do that you can implement right away in your business so that you can stop that from happening ever again. The second one is really good. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. I coach real estate agents who are frustrated, chasing buyers around 7 days a week, earning less than minimum wage. And so if you're the type of agent who wants to build a multi-6-figure income, only working 5 days a week, no nights, no weekends, by becoming a listing agent, I'm going to invite you to click the link beneath this video after you watch so that we can potentially have a conversation about working together and decide if right now coaching is for you or not. So I was on a coaching call the other day, and one of my coaching clients, she was explaining to me how in January she set 8 listing appointments and all 8 canceled. Now, as you can imagine, that's pretty frustrating to go the entire month, set 8 what seemingly to be listing appointments just to have them not happen or come to fruition. So I asked her 2 questions. I said, number 1, how soon does the phone call end after you get the prospect to say, yes, I will meet with you? And then the second question I asked her, I said, did the prospect invite you to come to the property to have the meeting? Or do you feel as though you might have pressured the prospect into agreeing to the meeting and maybe they were just being agreeable and they said yes at the time? And so we kind of talked through those 2 different questions. And yeah, I mean, I think that to be fair, when we were in our coaching session, she's like, yeah, I probably applied some pressure. I was really forcing my way into the appointment potentially. And right after the phone call, I try to get off that phone call as soon as possible because I'm so excited, Brandon, that when I set that appointment, I get a prospect to tell me yes, I try to get off the phone as quickly as possible so I don't screw it up. And I said, okay, let's pause for a second. Let's talk about this. So when setting appointments, the process just begins after the prospect says, yeah, sure, I'll meet with you. There's a couple of things that we want to do. And I know most of you, just like my coaching client, she gets very excited. She got very excited when, she's already nervous making these phone calls, prospecting, calling expired listings, calling for sell by owners. The nerves are going. And so when you get somebody who says, yeah, come on over, I understand the temptation to end that as quickly as possible to maybe not screw it up. But remember, the goal is to list and sell homes. It's not just to meet with anybody who says yes to the meeting. So once you set the appointment, there are 2 specific things that we're trying to do before you hang up the phone. Number 1, we're trying to determine if there's an actual opportunity here or not. And if not, it's okay. And number 2, to increase the likelihood that you actually acquire the listing when you go on the appointment. So let's break down number 1, determining the opportunity. So we don't want to force people to meet with us. We want to meet with motivated sellers who invite us over to the property. So here's a question we have to ask every prospect before we decide, am I going to go on this appointment or am I not? And the script is this: Mrs. Seller, listen, I'd be happy to meet and share with you what I'm doing to help my clients get their home sold for the best price with the least amount of stress. And then after we've had a chance to meet, we can determine if working together makes sense or not. And if not, that's perfectly okay, because let's face it, I haven't ever seen your house and you wouldn't hire me unless you felt I was the right agent. Is that fair? Now, let's be honest. The only sellers or the only prospects who are going to take you up on the meeting based on that script are who? Well, it's the sellers that have clear expectations, that actually want to sell the property, that actually want to interview a real professional like yourself. And we've created the perception of what we call equal business stature. The perception now is, I don't need the listing. I'm not going to come to your house and try to persuade you or sell you or convince you of anything. But if together we believe that working together makes sense, then fine. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. But now we've created a world where the playing field is equal. And when we do this right, I've had a ton of feedback from people that I coach and in my own experience that when you communicate this way, like you aren't needy, you aren't desperate, it actually brings you closer to the prospect. You start to become even more desirable. The prospect says, well, this is the exact type of person that I want to work with. So let's break down number 2, increasing the likelihood that you actually acquire the listing. So after you agree to the meeting and after you've set expectations and after you and the prospect are on the same page, we first want to send the prospect a calendar invitation through your email that outlines the day, the time of our meeting, just like any other industry, just like any other professional. We need to get that calendar invitation sent. And if you're not operating from a calendar, please start today. So we send out the calendar invitation to the prospect. It sits on their calendar. It sits on yours. The next thing that we want to do is we want to send an email to the seller to include the following: a copy of your resume, a copy of your marketing strategy, a bio video, and you can link this to like a unlisted YouTube video or on Vimeo. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. Explaining who you are. We call it our intro video. So the prospect can put a face with the name. They can start to learn more about your personality through the camera, through the lens, through video. And then we want to include some past client testimonials. So that's the second thing you want to do after you have set the appointment. The third thing that you want to do is we want to hand deliver a thank you card with a Starbucks gift card included. So you can have this dropped off at the property. You can drop it off at the property. You can have somebody on your team, someone from your office. You can have an intern do this. But when we set that appointment, we want to solidify that appointment as fast as possible using the law of reciprocity. And in that thank you card, we're going to keep it very simple. Bob and Sue, I'm looking forward to our meeting on Thursday. Enjoy a cup of coffee if you need anything in the meantime. Here's my contact information. You've got your business card. Potentially, it's a magnet. The fourth thing you want to do, here's the bonus tip. When you go to the appointment, and this is working so well, I'm so excited to share it with you guys. You want to bring an extra large fake check. You can get these from Amazon. You want to bring this with you on the appointment to show the seller what they can expect to walk away with when you're going through the net sheet presentation. So when you're breaking down all the numbers and you're going through the transfer tax, the commission, the title cost, the mortgage payoff, and you get to this part in the listing presentation, you want to pull out this huge check to say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, and you hand them over the check. When we sit across each other at the closing table, here's what you can expect to walk away with. Now, we do this because there's probably, in all the years that I've been doing this, nothing more that will make you stand out from the crowd than if you do this. So now that you know how to set better appointments and keep prospects from canceling, knowing what to do at the actual appointment's going to determine if you ultimately win the listing or not. So to see me in action, to see me actually do a live listing presentation, watch this video next.